The story of the man from Taured is one of the most famous modern mysteries about travel, time, and reality itself. It is often told as a strange case that happened in Tokyo, Japan, in the year 1954. The story begins like any normal travel incident at an airport, but soon turns into something that sounds impossible. According to the legend, a man arrived at Tokyo's Haneda Airport carrying a passport that said he came from a country called Taured, a country that has never existed on any world map. No one knows if this story is completely true, but it has been told for many years and continues to attract people who love mysteries, the paranormal, or unexplained events. Let's look at the story step by step, in simple language, to understand what supposedly happened and what people think about it. In July 1954, a plane landed at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. Among the passengers was a well-dressed man who looked European. Everything seemed normal until he reached the immigration counter to have his passport checked. The officer looked at the passport and noticed something very strange. The country listed on the passport was Taured. The officer checked the world map in his mind and realized that there was no country called Taured. Thinking it might be a mistake, he asked the man where his country was located. The traveler confidently replied that Taured was a small country between France and Spain, and that it had existed for more than 1,000 years. The immigration officer thought he meant Andorra, a small real country located exactly between France and Spain. But when he showed the map to the man, the traveler became confused and even a bit angry. He said that Andorra did not exist and that his country, Taured, had always been in that location. This was the first sign that something was very wrong. The officer then carefully examined the passport. To his surprise, it looked completely genuine. It was not a fake piece of paper or a poor copy. It was made of real materials, had official stamps, and even contained visa stamps from many countries, including Japan, which meant the man had supposedly traveled to Japan before. The stamps looked real, and the dates and details were correct. The man also had other official documents, such as a driver's license, business cards, and bank records. All of them listed Taured as his home country. He even carried currency from several European countries, suggesting that he had traveled widely. Everything about him seemed completely ordinary, except for one impossible thing. His home country did not exist anywhere on Earth. Because the situation was so strange, the airport authorities called in higher officials. They asked the man more questions. The traveler explained that he was in Japan for business and that his company was based in Taured. He even showed papers proving that he was expected to meet representatives of a Japanese company in Tokyo. When the Japanese officials called the company he mentioned, they were shocked again. No one there had ever heard of him or of the company he claimed to represent. The hotel where he said he had a booking also had no record of his name. Still, the man remained calm and confident. He insisted that he was telling the truth and that there must be some kind of mix-up. From his point of view, Japan was a real country, and he had visited before. But for some unknown reason, everyone around him seemed to believe that his home country, Taured, did not exist. Because immigration officers could not let him enter Japan without clear proof of where he came from, they decided to keep him temporarily in a hotel room near the airport while they investigated. He was placed in a secure room on an upper floor, and 2 guards were stationed outside to make sure he did not escape. The officials kept his passport and other documents for further study. During the night, nothing unusual seemed to happen. The guards said the man stayed in his room quietly. But when the officials went to check on him the next morning, the room was empty. The man had disappeared without a trace. The door had been locked from the outside all night. The windows were several floors up and had no ledges or balconies. It was impossible for anyone to climb out without being seen. Yet, somehow, The man from Taured was gone, and so were all his belongings and documents. Airport security and Tokyo police searched everywhere. They checked the hotel room, the corridors, the airport, and nearby streets. They even tried to find any record of his previous flights or his company in Taured. But nothing matched. It was as if the man had never existed. Officials could not explain how he had vanished. The records of his arrival were still there, his luggage tags existed, and witnesses confirmed they had spoken to him. But there was no proof that he had ever been part of any known country or organization. Eventually, the case was dropped, and the mystery was left unsolved. Over time, the story of the man from Taured became a legend. People all over the world began to discuss it in books, television programs, and online forums. There are several main theories that people use to explain what might have happened. The most popular theory is that the man came from a parallel universe, a world almost like ours, but slightly different. In his world, Taured was a real country located where Andorra is in our world. Something happened, maybe a mistake in time or space, that caused him to suddenly appear in our version of Earth, where Taured does not exist. According to this idea, his disappearance could mean he somehow slipped back into his own dimension. People who believe in the multiverse, the idea that there are many different versions of the universe existing at the same time, say that the Taured incident might be one rare case where two universes briefly crossed paths. Another theory says that the man might have been a time traveler from the future or the past. Perhaps in his timeline, political borders were different, and a country called Taured really did exist. When he accidentally arrived in our time period, he was confused to see that Andorra existed instead. This idea also explains why his documents looked real. They might have been authentic in his own timeline. His sudden disappearance could be the result of him returning to his original time by accident, or through some unknown technology. A more realistic but less exciting theory says that the man could have been a spy or criminal using a fake identity. Maybe Taured was part of a clever cover story designed to confuse officials. In the 1950s, during the Cold War, it was common for spies to use false papers. According to this theory, the man may have escaped during the night with outside help. The disappearance of his documents might mean that someone from his organization helped him leave quietly. This explanation removes the supernatural part of the story, but it still leaves many questions, especially about the realistic passport and stamps. Many historians and skeptics believe the entire story might be an urban legend, a fictional story that has been repeated so many times that people started to believe it was true. There are no official government reports, police files, or newspapers from 1954 that mention this event. Most of the details come from later retellings, especially from books about strange phenomena that were published decades afterward. It's possible that the story started as a misunderstanding, a mix-up at an airport, or even a piece of creative writing that spread across the internet. Over time, as people added their own details, the story became more mysterious and supernatural. Even if it is just a myth, the story of the man from Taured continues to fascinate people for several reasons. First, it touches on the idea of parallel worlds, a theme that appears in many science fiction movies and books. The thought that there might be other versions of Earth, with slightly different histories, is both thrilling and unsettling. Second, the story connects with our fear and wonder about travel and identity. Airports are places where people from all over the world meet, and where borders and documents decide who belongs where. The idea of someone showing up from a completely unknown country challenges our sense of order and reality. Third, mysteries like this remind us that even in the modern world, not everything can be easily explained. People enjoy thinking that there might still be secrets hidden in plain sight, something beyond science and logic. The Taured story is not the only tale of people appearing from unknown places. Throughout history, there have been other legends of mysterious travelers. For example, there are stories of sailors in the past who arrived at ports speaking unknown languages, claiming to be from lands that didn't exist on any maps. There are also accounts of people who appeared suddenly in villages, unable to explain where they came from or how they got there. These stories may come from human imagination or misunderstandings caused by language barriers and geography. Still, they add to the feeling that our world might be full of mysteries we don't yet understand. To this day, no one has been able to find any solid proof that the man from Taured really existed. There are no official Japanese immigration records, and no one has found the passport, documents, or photographs. Yet, the story continues to live on in articles, videos, and discussions around the world. Maybe it's because the story fits perfectly into our love of the unknown. It encourages us to imagine what if. What if another world really exists beside ours? What if people sometimes accidentally cross from one to another? Whether you believe it or not, the story of the man from Taured reminds us how little we truly know about the universe, and how much room there still is for mystery, curiosity, and wonder. The story of the man from Taured is a blend of mystery, imagination, and the unexplained. A man arrives in Tokyo in 1954 carrying a passport from a country no one has ever heard of. He insists that his homeland, Taured, is a real place between France and Spain. His documents appear genuine, yet his country does not exist. Held overnight in a guarded room, he disappears without a trace, taking his secrets with him. Some think he was a traveler from a parallel universe. Others say he was a spy with a fake identity. And many believe it's just a fascinating urban legend. Whatever the truth, the story continues to capture people's attention even decades later. In simple words, the man from Taured is a symbol of the unknown, a story that makes us question what is real and what might lie beyond our everyday understanding of the world.